So OWASP just dropped the second edition of the State of Agentic AI Security and Governance report. And I want to use it to kick off a new series on this channel. Over the next 10 videos, I'm going to walk through the OWASP top 10 for agentic applications. One risk per video, practitioner focused with real-world incidents and data. But before we get into the individual risks, I want to set the table for the report's key findings because the picture they paint is striking. 12 months ago, most of the threats in the agentic AI space were theoretical. They lived in research papers and red team exercises. That is no longer the case. The V2 report tracks 424 CVEs across 17 agentic platforms, 74 of which are rated critical. 290 of those were disclosed in the first quarter of 2026 alone. Almost every category in the OWASP top 10 for agentic applications now has at least one confirmed real-world incident supporting it. The report's core argument is one sentence, and I think it's the most important sentence in the entire document. Most organizations are deploying agents faster than they can govern them. More budget for the programs we already run will not close that gap. That gap between deployment velocity and governance capability is what the series is all about. The first key finding is that agentic AI threats have moved from theory to production. That is not a forecast. The report documents it with real-world incidents. Let me give you a few. In December 2025, Cato documented a Claude Scales configuration that deployed ransomware. In September 2025, OpenAI's Codex CLI had a sandbox bypass. In March 2025, Pillar Security demonstrated a working exploit against both GitHub Copilot and Cursor that used code agent trust to inject malicious instructions. In April 2025, TrustWave showed you can spoof an agent card in A2A protocol, effectively impersonating one agent to another. And the Echo Leak zero-click prompt injection from May 2025 demonstrated that an attacker does not even need the user to do anything. The agent reads a poisoned document and exfiltrates data on its own. The supply chain picture is even more concrete. The Postmark MCP incident was the first confirmed malicious MCP server in the wild. 15 versions published to build legitimacy before a single exfiltration line was even added. Then you had CVE 2025-6514 and a CVSS 9.6 in core MCP infrastructure itself. And the HackerBot Claw attack chain was genuinely sophisticated. A compromised Trivi GitHub action was used to harvest a light LLM PyPy token, which led to two backdoored packaged versions on PyPy that were downloaded 47,000 times in a 3-hour window before detection. If you follow my coverage of the MCP top 10, this should sound familiar. What the report confirms is that these are not edge cases. The agentic supply chain is an active exploitation surface now. The report also introduces an important framing, a paper called AI Agent Traps. The core insight is that attackers are not targeting the agent itself. They're targeting the information environment the agent consumes. Tool descriptions, retrieval corpus, memory stores, scale registries, web content. Poison the inputs and the agent does the work for you. That reframes where defenders need to focus. It's not just about hardening the model. It's about hardening everything the model trusts. The second finding is one I've been arguing for a while, and the report puts data behind it. For agentic systems, AI safety and AI security are no longer separable at the deployment layer. Here's the distinction. Security is about trust boundary violations. There's an adversary, they are trying to make the system do something it was not designed to do. Safety is about harm from normal operation. No adversary needed. The system just fails or produces outcomes nobody intended. In traditional software, those are different disciplines with different teams and different tooling. In agentic AI, they collapse. The report maps this across 4 trends: expanding tool access, reduced human oversight, multi-agent architectures, and agent supply chain growth. In every case, the same design decision creates both safety and security failure modes. The same permission surface governs both. The same telemetry serves both. You cannot govern them separately. The underlying architecture makes them the same problem. Coding agents are where this convergence is the most visible right now. The report tracks 53 notable agentic projects. Coding agents represent 53% of them, 28 of the 53. The 5 fastest growing projects by commit velocity are all coding agents: Claude Code, Gemini CLI, Codex, Klein, and Aider. And A16Z found that coding is the dominant Fortune 500 AI use case by an order of magnitude. That matters because an exploit in a widely adopted coding agent is systemic. It propagates malicious code into the downstream applications, often with no human review. The security advisory density tells a story. N8N, for example, had 57 advisories, Claude Code 22, GPT 15. Prompt injection is the clearest example of the convergence. It maps the 6 of the 10 ASI categories in OWASP top 10. Simon Willison's quote-unquote lethal trifecta, access to private data, exposure to untrusted content, and external communication capability, describes the conditions under which any agent becomes exploitable. Meta's agent rule of 2 says that without a human in the loop, an agent should satisfy no more than 2 of those 3 properties. The architectural root cause is that the data plane and control plane are collapsed into a single token sequence. That is a security problem and a safety problem simultaneously, and you cannot fix one without addressing the other. The International AI Safety Report puts a number on the reliability question. Current AI agents complete well-specified 30-minute tasks at roughly 80% reliability, falling below 25% for multi-hour tasks. That is the safety side of the same coin. When your agent fails 1 in 4 times on complex tasks and it has a production tool access, the safety failure and the security failure become the same incident. The third finding is where the rubber meets the road for practitioners. Governance designed for static systems cannot keep pace with agentic deployments. The report tracks 42 regulatory instruments across 10 jurisdictions. These are not proposals, they're operative instruments with penalty regimes attached. The EU AI-X GPAI Code of Practice now requires public red team reports, signed usage logs, and live monitoring plans. The first wave of provider obligations took effect August 2, 2025, with high-risk system requirements following in August 2026. NIST shipped a cyber AI profile mapping agent-specific controls to CSF 2.0. Singapore published the world's first governance framework built specifically for agentic AI. But here's the part that likely worries CISOs the most. The incident reporting timelines are converging and they are fast. DORA requires initial notification in 4 hours. NIST 2 mandates a 24-hour early warning. New York's RAISE Act requires safety incident reporting within 72 hours with $1 million first violation penalty. California's SB 53 allows 15 days. These regimes cover different entity types in different jurisdictions, but organizations that both build and deploy agents or that operate across regulated sectors face genuinely overlapping windows that manual triage cannot satisfy. The report also introduces an enterprise adoption maturity model that I think is genuinely useful. It operates on 2 dimensions. The first is adoption tier. What kind of agents are you actually running? It defines 9 tiers from AT0, which is shadow AI that your organization has not even discovered yet, all the way through AT8, which is federated agents operating across organizational boundaries. The second dimension is governance maturity, level 0 through 4, measuring your organizational capability to govern whatever you have deployed. The matrix that crosses these 2 dimensions is where it gets actionable. Bold cells indicate your governance is insufficient for your adoption tier, and the report is blunt. AT0, Shadow AI, any governance level below continuous monitoring is critical. You cannot govern what you have not discovered. The A16Z data says 29% of Fortune 500 and roughly 19% of Global 2000 already have live, contracted agentic AI deployments. That only counts the governed ones. The unmanaged usage is by definition unquantified and higher. The 5-step process the report recommends starts with Shadow AI discovery, and I think that's exactly right. Before you worry about your multi-agent orchestration governance, find out what your employees are already doing with personal ChatGPT accounts, browser AI extensions, and unapproved coding agents on corporate data. The report estimates roughly 50% of employees are using unsanctioned AI tools, quote-unquote vibe coding. This was Collins Dictionary Word of the Year in 2025, and this is not fringe behavior. It's the baseline condition most organizations need to acknowledge before they can govern anything else. And the identity dimension compounds it. Non-human identities already outnumber humans 100 to 1 in most enterprises. Some organizations report ratios of 500 to 1. 97% carry excess privileges. A fraction of a percent of machine identities control 80% of cloud resources. When agents inherit those credentials and start acting autonomously, the blast radius of a single compromised identity multiplies in ways traditional IAM was never designed to handle. This is why ASI 03 identity and privilege abuse is one of the categories I'm most focused on in the series I'm going to be doing. So here's the plan. Over the next 10 videos, I'm going to walk through each of the OWASP top 10 for agentic applications, ASI 01 through ASI 10. Each video will be 10 minutes or less, focused on what practitioners need to know. ASI 01 is the agent goal hijack, prompt injection at the agent level and how it differs from LLL level problems. ASI 02 is tool misuse and exploitation, what happens when agents abuse tools within their authorized permissions. ASI 03 is identity and privilege abuse, and if you have followed my work on non-human identities, this one connects directly. ASI 04 is agentic supply chain compromise, which ties to the MCP top 10 and everything we just talked about with postmark MCP through hacker-bought claw. ASI 05 through ASI 10 cover unexpected code execution, memory poisoning, insecure inter-agent communication, cascading failures, human trust agent exploitation, and rogue agents. Every category now has real-world incident data supporting it. The theory phase is over. This is the operational security for a new class of system. It needs the same rigor we bring to any other attack surface. The State of Agentic AI Security and Governance report is linked below from OWASP, along with the OWASP Top 10 for Agentic Applications itself. Both are free and open. If you're deploying agents in production, or if your employees are deploying them without your knowledge, these are required reading. Subscribe so you don't miss the individual risk deep dives. ASI 01 Agent Goal Hijack is next. I'll see you there.